Call this meeting to order. All please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, we ask for your guidance and patience as we conduct the business of the county. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A motion for an executive session to be held October 20th, 2021 at 9 a.m.
So moved.
Second.
A motion second for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same motion. Same motion carries. Many are legislative reports. Supervisor Angus.
I attended the CSA Annual Summit in Prescott last week. It was very interesting, a lot of new faces. I believe Supervisor Bishop is going to give a little bit more of an in-depth report on that.
Sure.
So that's it. Thank you.
Supervisor Bishop.
Okay, I also attended the CSA Legislative Summit, and we had 3 resolutions that the CSA members decided to support. Resolution 121 was about increasing transportation investment. Resolution 221 was to expand access to broadband. And then we talked about Resolution 321, that was public safety pension funding. And then Mojave County had 3 legislative proposals that we brought forward. 2 out of the 3 passed. The one that failed was the right to preemptory challenges, and that did fail by lack of support by the CSA members, but the CSA County Supervisors Association will still support the concept. The other resolution was county improvement district modifications. That did pass, with the exception we had to remove the 18-month timeline out of the proposition. And then it did pass. And then finally, we had the juvenile dependency representation resources, which we brought forward for the past several years. And once again, it did pass and was supported by the CSA. So that's basically the important things in relations to Mojave County, and it's a good summit.
Supervisor Gould.
None today, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Lingenfelder.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. We did submit the comment letter from Mojave County. There are comments regarding the GSC Farms proposed transfer of water to Queen Creek. We submitted that letter to the Bureau of Reclamation in response to their environmental assessment scoping process, and so we'll continue to be very active in that process. I'm also going to be meeting with a lady by the name of Chelsea McGuire in the Farm Bureau. They've reached out, and also with some of the Mojave County farms that are drawing out of the Wildfire Valley Aquifer regarding receiving their input on the proposed rural management area bill that Mojave County continues to support. We'll also be meeting on the Mojave County West Basin Water User Study Committee. Will be meeting, I believe it's the 3rd week of October. The data, the information that we get from the farms, hopefully we can use that information as we go into that meeting. So glad to see them come to the table. And then last but not least, on the Wildfire settlement, we have a meeting set up with Cinema's office. We've met with several other congressional delegates in support of that legislation. We hope to see that legislation continue to move forward. Mojave County has had to provide some additional data in the Truxton Aquifer to ADWR to push that process forward. I'd like to thank County Manager Elters and his staff for all that you've done to provide that data to ADWR. And with that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I attended the Quad State Local Government Authority meeting. Our treasurer's report, we have a balance of $203,043.61. Robert Widener gave a report on historic right-of-ways, RS 2477. It's legislation that we've been trying to put in for quite a while. Because of pushback from environmental groups, we're still looking for Democrat support to get that moving ahead. Katie Lighthall, the coordinator of the National Cohesive Wildland Fire and the Western Region Strategy Committee and Wildfire Cohesive Strategy, she gave an overview of the cohesive strategy and where the counties may be in carrying out the strategy. She started by showing a PowerPoint slideshow and gave 3 goals or challenges of the cohesive study. They are fire-adapted communities, resilient landscapes, safe, effective wildlife responses. They're working with science to use the best methods for managing wildfire on the landscape. They laid out a vision for the next 100 years. Vision includes extinguishing fires when needed, use fires where allowable, manage our natural resources, and learn to live with wildland fire. Katie stated that the counties have a major role in carrying out the vision where they need to define and understand risk, collaborative set landscapes, level, and community-wide priorities, share and co-manage risk across boundaries and jurisdictions, accept short-term risk for long-term benefit, and collectively invest in outcome-based approaches and activities rather than outputs. She pointed out that there are 3 wildfire communities in the U.S. These include the western states, the northeastern states, and the southeast states. She then talked about attending the National Cohesive Wildland Fire Strategy Workshop. This is to be held virtually October 4th or 7th. And she's open to hearing from counties, and in communication, she gave her numbers, which I passed on to staff. We also then heard from our attorney, Paul Weiland. He gave the background of the Joshua Tree case filed in U.S. District Court for the Central District of California. Wild Earth Guardians are the plaintiff. And they filed a suit stating that the climate change has not been considered in the Fish and Wildlife Service review to the extent that it will have an impact on the tree's existence. Projections made indicate that climate will have a major impact on depleting the tree. However, there are several projects that come up with different outcomes. As a result, the court directed the matter to go back to Fish and Wildlife Service to revisit their 12-month filing. He pointed out the court was concerned that the impacts of wildfire, but these are localized and not a big issue. The Fish and Wildlife can appeal the ruling, but we're not sure if that's something they will do. He also then went on to case number 419-CV-00441, filed in U.S. District Court. Wildlife Guardians of Western Watersheds are the plaintiffs. This was settled by Fish and Wildlife Service. In February of 2020, the Fish and Wildlife Service, 2022, will agree to issue a 12-month finding. We'll have to wait and see what takes place on that. Also said there was a petition to list the Joshua Tree under California Endangered Species Act by California Fish and Game Commission. That may be warranted for listing, but it's still under study. This fall, the briefings on this will be going on. Daryl Lacey, who is our, should be taking Jerry Hillier's place when we have an election. He gave an overview of the Transportation Ecology Workshop webinars. These workshops and webinars focused on transportation issues where tortoises crossing roads can be controlled by fencing and other methods, including culverts and bridges. The program, we're looking at the best methods, identifying costs to provide connectivity for the tortoise population. Pointed out there is a priority map that shows high priority areas where fencing is needed. These will be watched closely. Bill Lamb gave an update on the USFWS recovery, the RIT teams. He pointed out that the team was created when the tortoise recovery plan was revisited. The team includes 7 work groups made up of 5 to 18 members that represent federal and state agencies, NGO, and other organizations that provide support for restoration of the tortoise population. The work groups identify projects that will provide restoration of the habitat and the population. Projects that have been funded are implemented, but the estimated costs for projects that are currently unfunded are listed in the report that is reviewed by the work groups to file find sources that will fund the project. The big issue is where the project fundings come from. The team continues to find funding sources, and the Fish and Wildlife Service presents these projects and cost at each of the MOG meetings where funding has been found. He also reported on the cannabis agricultural impact in the California desert. I'm not sure if we're going to be seeing this over here or not. With passage of the California Proposition 64 in 2016 that decriminalized the use and sale of marijuana, and has led to the collateral impacts to the Mojave Desert. Illegal cultivation of cannabis has increased on public lands, where an estimated 800 to 900 illegal growing operations are occurring in San Bernardino County alone. Crews have been unable to do raven surveys due to safety concerns. This is going to be a growing issue, but the counties need to be vigilant. Also had a report on desert landscape conservation cooperatives and the status of the Eastern Mojave Conservation Collaborative Pilot Project Workshop. In 2020, appropriations for the LCCs ended that funding for the Eastern Mojave. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service did not have sufficient funds to support the project, and the BLM, Clark County, and Fish and Wildlife contributed sufficient funds to support it until the end of the fiscal year. Western Regional Partnership. The partnership was organized by the military in 2007 and includes all military services along with each of the 6 western states, including California, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico. Provides a collaborative structure for federal, state, tribal leadership to identify common goals. And that concludes that. County Manager.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. No report today.
All right. Next we have call to the public. Scott McClure.
Scotty from Bullhead. I'm griping again about the TV channels. They've changed them up again and taken things off that we used to have for years. And I don't know, where do you complain? I've been up seeing Melissa this morning and getting the new channel guides, and it's kind of up to date. And now I'm seeing that we're sending signals to Utah, up in Moccasin and Littlefield, which, you know, they do pay county taxes, so they should be getting this. And these channel guides, we're not getting. They moved some stuff Tuesday. You know, we got new programs coming on, and that is affecting us too. But for them to take channels off, like the Weather Channel and the Time on it, that's gone now. And they put on another shopping channel. And this stuff's $500 to $1,000. It's not this 1995 crap. But for them not to tell us that they're doing this, they're taking TMZ off and put it on Channel 45. Why don't we get Channel 45? You guys do here in Kingman. See, it's so out of whack, but they still all pay the same taxes. I see the line over here. They're all paying the same thing, but not getting everything. Newspapers, we're still getting Courier. We finally got the Lake Havasu paper. Guess what I saw in the first one I opened up was they had a little survey. And in Lake Havasu, the survey says 90% for term limits on Board of Supervisors to 10% want to keep you. That's the Lake Havasu paper. So the stuff that I'm going to read today has already happened down in Lake Havasu, so I guess I can't go to them. The Fairgrounds, I see where you guys screwed around on that while I was not here. I don't know why you just don't get rid of them. The fair is over. We probably lost that $100. I don't know. You won't report on it. Or 100 and something thousand, 155, whatever it was. You got this being run down out there in the county parks. It's free money going to this county park down there, which we don't get to use. We should be able to get in free to the county park if we have a Bullhead City license, you know, an ID, like they do at Community Park. The reason it's run down is because you guys have not given them the money to keep up the water lines. It's your fault that we have to give them $2 million to replace the lines. Because over the last 30 years, you've let the county fairgrounds and that county park go to hell. Your fault.
Jennifer Esposito.
Jennifer Esposito, Kingman. As of July, 47 legitimate studies confirmed the ineffectiveness of masks for viral transmission, and 32 more confirmed their negative health effects. Now, you have to be a special kind of stupid to believe the retard running the health department when she gets up here and tells you had a 97% reduction in influenza deaths because of masks, when we had a huge amount of quote-unquote COVID cases and deaths. And I've already explained to you that the COVID test, and proved to you that the COVID test never once tested for COVID, not a single time. And that every single bit of data this county health department has promulgated has been based on 100% fraud. So the fact that the retard still has her job, and every day that
That's
this goes on...
enough of that name calling, Miss Esposito. If you're going to call
With all
names,
due
you'll ask me
respect,
to leave.
Chairman, I have the right to say what I want to say under open meeting law and the case law that supports it. And if you want to go to court over that too, I'm happy to do it. Speaking of, it was extremely stupid of you to give Wilma a taxpayer-funded defense on my lawsuit against her when I didn't sue her in her employee capacity. I sued her in her personal capacity. And it's looking a lot to me like the Supreme Court case is going to be taken up because they asked for a partial part of the record from the appellate court. Now, what I came to tell you was something that Card forgot to tell you.
Mr. Chair, if I could just interrupt, and the speaker
No, you
is
cannot
the
interrupt. I
speaker
have the floor.
is going to be
I
able to
have the
speak
floor. You
and
cannot
provide her
interrupt.
thoughts to the
No,
board.
it's not.
We're asking
And
you to...
The definition of vaccination
Mr. Chair,
has been changed.
she can express her thoughts, but she's not entitled to call names and sit there and call names to people. But her expressions of thoughts and opinions on these topics are certainly appropriate to express.
Hydroxychloroquine or vitamin D3, under the new legal definition of vaccine,
Your time is
you
up,
can be
madam.
counted as vaccinated. Therefore, if your employer is telling you that you must get vaccinated, you can now legally argue that if you take vitamin
Please
D3
turn off the mic.
or any of these other things, that you have been vaccinated. And I strongly suggest you tell the retard running the health department to update the county policy, because every day that goes by, you allow this farce and this fraud to continue, is a day that you are harming the very people you took an oath to protect and who voted you into office to defend their rights. You should be absolutely ashamed of yourself, and you better damn well request that any God that you pray to has mercy on your souls for the harm that you are causing.
Kenny Works.
Kenny Works, Yucca, Arizona. I have a picture of 823 Afghan adults and children from Kabul on August 15th, desperate to flee the Taliban panicked Afghans who had been cleared to evacuate on later flights pulled themselves into the plane's half-open ramp, and the crew made the decision to go. A DoD official said the flight set a record for the number of people flown in a C-17 Globemaster III, which typically flies within a maximum of 300 when outfitted for a large passenger load. It's getting down to what is sacred and what isn't. Obviously, the current administration thinks that doing this to people is something sacred to the Democrats, to the progressives, and as Jennifer was saying, the science is only settled when it benefits the progressives. I think that I'll show you this picture of all these people crammed on this C-17 Globemaster III. But 823 people in there. That's what they hold sacred. That's what the current administration holds sacred. And it reminds me of the killing fields, which the Democrats also held sacred, was defunding the South Vietnamese army. Democrat Congress in 75 or 74 voted to defund the Vietnamese army and led to all the murders in the killing fields. That's what the Democrats hold sacred. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Chris Rodarty.
Chris Rodarty, Kingman. It is evil and immoral for hospitals and care facilities to forbid families to be at their loved ones' bedsides. Maybe this board should proclaim Mojave County a CDC sanctuary county, even if it means being cut off from another $45 million in free government bribery cheese.
All right, we'll have a presentation, Mojave County Housing Needs Assessment and Discussion. Mr. Smith.
Good morning, Chairman Johnson, members of the board. It's today my pleasure to come before you to speak on an issue that many of you have raised with me in the past: affordable housing and workforce housing. Housing affordability is a primary issue for many communities in Arizona, not just Mojave County. Mojave County is no different, but if we want to continue to attract new businesses and be a tourist destination, a retirement enclave, while serving the housing needs of the industries that are currently here, the housing market shortage must be addressed to maintain affordability. Vision: provide quality, affordable housing solutions to the residents of Mojave County at a variety of income levels, with specific focus on affordable/workforce households that are cost burdened and earning less than Mojave County area median income, which is currently $49,712. So what I'd like to do now is talk about some terms, because these terms are always mixed up or confused. So let's frame the question. In regards to affordable housing, affordable housing is 80% of area median income or less. So that's $39,769 or less. Workforce housing. Workforce housing is between 80% and 120% of area median income. Market rate. Market rate is simply what will the market justify? What will people individually be willing to pay? I'd like to go to this slide really quick. If you look at January of 2020, you can really see a price jump to January 2021. This was through the MLS, multiple listing services, that you'd get from a regular real estate agent. And it really shows this is the Mojave County historical trend. All right. But part of it is why I want to go to the next slide is if you look at wages, wages just haven't gone up. And so that's really a concern. So when you think about it, housing jumped up quite a substantially amount, and wages did not. All right. So that's part of the problem as well here within the county. Local housing initiatives. Develop collaborative approach for affordable/workforce housing in Mojave County community. It is vital for us to move forward with this initiative. And there's several things that we can do that will be tools that will help us with this. The first one would be a countywide housing study. We haven't had a countywide housing study done since 2006. Follow up by a countywide housing plan. Once again, I will talk about this, and I will say this until the end of time. Partnerships. We really need to develop partnerships between Lake Havasu, Bullhead City, City of Kingman, and the rural parts, as well as Colorado City, and organizations such as WACOG, nonprofits, private developers, elected officials, and others to really develop these different programs to move the dial for Mojave County and make sure that everybody's quality of life is able to be attained. All right, roundtable and stakeholder meetings, right? This is really important. If we look at it, there's a star here in the center where it connects to all the dots. Development. So the county manager and Tammy Ursenbach, the economic developer, and I have met in regards to two different LIHTC individuals right? But it's going to take everybody within the county. So financial assistance, right? What are those? The USDA has loans and programs for first-time home buyers. So making sure that we're providing that information to local communities. Financial establishments, there's local credit unions as well as banks that have first-time homeowners, ability to put down down payments for first-time homeowners. These will be important in making sure that people are aware of those. And these will also be on the county webpage in a resource file located in community services. But we need to do it together, right? Because if we don't have affordable housing for our teachers, and we don't have quality schools, and we don't have health care where people can actually engage and receive a home and be in a home and call it home, we won't attract new businesses. And new businesses are the life of Mojave County. Local affordable housing approaches. We could do county land trust, deed restricted land, down payment loan assistance programs through the USDA that I mentioned earlier, development incentives for developers, low-income house tax credit, which I'll also jump into in a little bit, federal and state affordable local housing program. These will also be on the community service webpage as resources for the community to actually engage in. Low-income house tax credits, LIHTC. This is really important. So every year, there's about 20 awards for LIHTC at 9%. It's a very competitive process. With that being said, it's due on April 1st of every year, and it's competitive. So what would we need to do? There's a lot of things that we would need to get in place. Some of those things that may help this process is if we came up with a plan where we worked with developers in regards to leasing county land. That could be one possibility, or finding other leased land that would help the developers bring affordable housing / workforce housing to the community. Another thing that was recently passed in regards to the LIHTC was that currently it used to be that they could do metro. They could just focus on a certain area and perform LIHTC programs and developments in metro areas. But now it's been changed so that there has to be one metro and one rural. So we would definitely have a better chance now receiving some LIHTC funds than we would have in the past. The 4% is currently open all around the year, and that's the developers. Anybody could apply and move that forward at the 4%. So as we move forward and think of different things that we could do, these are some things that you would find within a housing plan. I'm not going to go through all of these individually, but I will click through the slides and just make sure everybody's aware of some of the things that we could do. LIHTC program, establish a marketing program targeting affordable housing developers to bring them here to Mojave County. The county manager, Tammy Ursenbach, and I have met with 2 developers in regards to this to really see what we could do to increase affordable housing within the county. Development incentives. So really working with our developers as well as contractors all across the county in regards to what their needs are and how we could improve that. Community land trust. Monitor increased and lost affordable units. So after we do a housing study, if we're able to make that happen, we'll track our current supply, right? So we know how many were deficient and where we need to go. Because each year we can work with the different cities as well as the county for permits. So we'll know how many houses are being built and where we stand within the county and what are the needs of the county as well. And how are we addressing those needs? But really, as we think about these, and I'm just going to click through these because these will be on the page as well, but these are just some things that will be proposed over a 3 to 5 year plan within there. But part of it for the county's role is really to be the convener, right? Bring people together, have conversations. How do we move the dial? How do we get organizations involved? It'll be county, but we need all partners at the table. And then putting those partners together, we can solve the workforce / affordable housing needs of Mojave County. And with that, I'll conclude and take any questions, please.
Supervisor Lingenfelder, you have a question?
Oh, thank you, Chairman Johnson. Michael, thank you for the presentation today. It's certainly something that's on District 1's radar. I want to thank you for coming to District 1's Housing Roundtable that was held not too long ago. We had some pretty broad representation, folks from Colorado City area, Centennial Park. We had the Wallapai tribe there. We had USDA, some of the folks calling in online, yourself and the city of Kingman also, I want to thank them for coming in. And through that process, I think we kind of, got everybody on the same page as far as, where we're at, what's everybody experiencing right now, everybody is, it's the common theme. Everybody is sort of scrambling for affordable housing, workforce housing. I was glad to hear that the city of Kingman has a possible 400 plus apartment complex that they're working through right now. So hopefully they get that done. But also I think we came up with some strategies as well. We had some private sector people come to the meeting, and I know that from that we're going to be meeting with the owner of Clayton Homes in the near future. And I appreciate you and Tammy for being a part of that meeting in District 1. And up in Colorado City, for instance, the UEP Trust was there. I was glad to see them there. They've got a lot of land still. And one of the things that we talked about was possibly working out some way to work with the county to put out a request for information because they don't have the professional procurement capability that Mojave County does. And basically saying, hey, we'd like to entertain a public-private partnership. We have this land. On this land, we could kick it in to some sort of a partnership that would result in some sort of affordable housing, because they're struggling up there too as their economy continues to grow. So just keep moving forward, and it's something that is very important for our economy. I agree.
Thank you, Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael, I'm curious, across the United States, how many counties have the ability, does the average family have the ability to buy their own home?
That's a good question, Supervisor. I would have to follow up with you on that. I know, like right now, currently, if you look at just where things are at, housing market's really hot. I mean, really hot, and we all know that. We've all seen that. So to give you an honest answer, I would have to look that up and provide that to you. But I could look up a national source and provide that for you.
I would appreciate that, because I think this is actually a national problem. I don't think it's just merely isolated to Mojave County or to Arizona. We probably need to look at, when you think about it, I think people are missing out on the American dream if they don't have the ability to own their own home. They don't have the ability to own their own piece of the earth, essentially. Then they're just serfs and tenant farmers on somebody else's land, so to speak. But I don't know that the county has the ability to do anything about this, to tell you the truth. I don't know that the county should be becoming a landlord for people. I don't really think that that's the county's purpose, to tell you the truth. I'm more than happy to work with developers that want to do these kind of things, but I'm not really interested in the county becoming the landlord for people, so to speak. But if you could get that previous information to me, I'd appreciate it.
I'll definitely do that, Supervisor. And I would just echo the point in regards to really looking at what we can do as a county, and really it's just bringing the different initiatives forward and starting conversations across all three cities as well as other parts in the county in Colorado City. Really just being the convener, making sure that people are aware of the issues and anything that we could do to develop those relationships. So connect a developer, work with a city in regards to what the current fees are, the different things, or the county fees, looking at all those different things above, and really just being the convener, right? That's all I see the county's role is, to be a convener, bring people together, and figure out solutions to make sure that people have affordable housing.
Sure. Thank you.
Supervisor Bishop.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. I agree with Supervisor Gould. I don't see us as getting into the rental business or the landlord business. So I'm just curious, other than communications and trying to bring people together, what do you see as the county's role in providing housing for people that can't qualify for homes on their own?
Sure, great question, Supervisor Bishop. And just to echo that, I really see us providing resources and making sure people are aware of those resources. There's a lot of different resources that are currently in the community that people could access in regards to that. A lot of the banks have programs, making sure that people are aware of those in regards to getting into the land business. In regards to that, that's really the decision of the board. But I think there are a lot of different programs out there that we could work with different constituents as well as the different cities, the Tri-Cities within the county, and really just making sure that they have the resources that are available and making sure we're all communicating, and anything that we could do collaboratively, we would do that.
And those resources would be people wanting to come back to the workforce and have an income so that they could qualify for either a conventional loan or a government-funded, supported role.
Agreed, Super.
Yeah.
Supervisor Angus?
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues here. Makes me nervous to think that we get involved in this kind of thing. Now, there are two separate things, right? There's people to ownership, like Supervisor Gold was talking about, and then you're talking about apartment buildings. I know down in Bullhead City, there is a movement for the school district to be that is going to be working for low. And I understand it. I understand the frustration and the need. It just makes me very, very nervous. Makes me very nervous. And again, what goes up must come down. So although we are in this hot market, it's going to come down. And some people think it's going to crash even worse than 2008. So all of these things that I think we just need to be very careful. Again, it goes back to when we talked about that, the money for the rental assistance. At what point does the government become the entity that people go to for all their basic needs? It's so far away from what this country is supposed to be. So I just, I understand, and then I think we got some bigger problems that people don't want to work. I was just reading something on Facebook this morning that, there are every day there are employers coming on, and it's kind of been a joke, like, here are the 10 best excuses I got today why someone didn't show up for work, or why someone never showed up, or so why they're going to leave early or don't want to work anymore. That's a problem that maybe we can do something about. But this thing getting into the landlord business makes me very nervous. But I'm interested to see what the different ideas are.
Mr. Chairman and board members, may I?
Sure,
I
jump
mean-
right in ahead of me, no problem, County Manager.
I will happily yield to you, Mr.
Go
Chairman.
ahead.
Just wanted to add, thank you. We wanted to get some direction from the board this morning with this presentation. I can assure you, all of you, the vision that we perceive and our understanding from what the board wants to do is not to get the county into the housing business or become a landlord. But we do see a facilitator role. We, I think, are uniquely positioned to help. The county is in the business development process. We see this happening hand in glove between forgive me, not land development, I meant to say economic development. So this will be a collaborative effort between community services and economic development, and it is to facilitate, to bring resources and knowledge to bear, to support partnerships with the cities. That is absolutely vital, as you heard Michael say. In a lot of the interactions and the dialogues that we have with potential companies moving in, it's really a common theme that housing is an issue, and so workforce and affordable housing. We want to see what the county can do to facilitate that role, and to just put parties in touch. We did not want to undertake, given the discussions that we've had and the understanding of what the industry is looking for, we did not want to undertake any efforts without coming first to the board and getting some direction.
Mr. Smith, did you say you had 19 LIHTCs already in the county?
Yes, that is correct.
You probably won't have the answer for this, maybe you have an idea. How many of those, because you said they're mostly full, how many of those are taken up by working people?
So if to answer your question, in regards to the LIHTC program, right, it's 80% of area median income. So I couldn't, when you say it would be really tough to put my thumb on that answer, Chairman.
Okay, what I'm willing to bet is that because we can't discriminate, we're having retired people on fixed incomes more than helping the job market seekers. That's the only question I had. All right. Is there any other question? Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson, members of the board.
Move on to consent. Items 5 through 35. Supervisor Haynes?
Nothing this morning, thank you.
Supervisor Bishop?
34.
Supervisor Gould?
Number 16 and number 29.
Supervisor Lingenfelter?
Nothing this morning.
I need a motion to approve items 5 through 35 minus 16, 29, 34.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 16, Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wondering if someone could give us an explanation of what this payment program is. Actually, did I call? Might have got the wrong one. No, that's it.
Good morning, Chairman Johnson and members of the board. Supervisor Gould, thank you for your question. My name is Michelle Fink, and I'm the procurement supervisor, and I'll be happy to answer any questions related to the procurement process. This automated pavement inspection, we are requesting a direct select contract with a technical registrant. To speak more on the program to improve the streets, Steve Lutowski would provide you a better explanation. He is not here today, but we could come back to you with more information about this program.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Gould, would you like me to take a shot at answering your question? I think I understand it, which is, what is it all about?
Sure. That's basically what my question is. What are we doing here?
So, Chairman Johnson and board members, annually we do a road maintenance program that determines what roads need pavement preservation, either a chip seal or an overlay or a reconstruction. A number of factors go into that. One of them is the smoothness of the pavement, and to take the subjectivity out of that, all agencies, state and the counties now rely on a scientific approach where you have a device drives down the road and measure the roughness and conditions of the road, produces a report that then is used by the engineers to determine what level of maintenance to do. This was done 3 years ago on all the paved, the arterials and county highways, not every road, because those are the key ones for us. The report that resulted from that was used for the next 3 years for the development of a maintenance annual program. It was really valued by the department, so the idea here is to do the same, do it about on a 3-year intervals and compare the results and start to not only use it to determine what to do, but to also look for trends and what's working and what's not. So I hope that may be more and may not be enough, but that's an answer.
Mr. Chairman, County Supervisor, so this is something that our own staff does not have the equipment to do?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Gould, yes, indeed, we do not have that technology. It's fairly specialized. And just for your information, the state does not have that technology either. They hire it, and it's really an effective way of getting the information without investing into the technology that is constantly changing.
So there's no telephone app that does this?
No.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Do you have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that item 16 be adopted.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, further discussion.
I have one question, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Supervisor Lingenfelter.
Thank you. County Manager Alters, does this have to do with pavement condition index, the PCI? Is that correct? Pavement condition index?
Supervisor, Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Lingenfelter, yes, indeed. It's one of the factors that we measure, and the pavement this is an index for pavement conditions that is used in deciding what to do.
So you're going to be getting the PCI updated on the entire road system and a portion every following year? Is that how it's going to work?
Supervisor Lingenfelter, yes, it will be for county highways and principal arterials in the county. We won't do it on every paved road like residential street. But yes, it will be every 3 years, and it will be for those key, the functional classification of the road system really sees those two categories as more critical ones.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 29, Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was wondering if somebody from the Sheriff's Office can give me an explanation of what we're doing here.
Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Gould, this partnership with DEA gives us some extra funding for overtime for one of our magnet detectives that are assigned to the magnet task force.
The backup said that our deputy is going to be deputized by DEA.
We have a partnership with DEA. DEA is attached to the magnet task force, and that magnet detective did go through some training, and I guess you could say is certified through DEA.
So does that officer then have to have his permission slip signed by the sheriff to operate inside Mojave County as a federal agent?
Does our detective? I'm a little
Since
confused.
he would then be deputized as a DEA agent, does he need to have his so-called permission slip? Since the sheriff is the highest law enforcement officer in the county, and the federal agents cannot come into the county without the permission of the sheriff.
Well, he's already employed by us, so I guess that's kind of an implied.
It just
Since
seems
he's
like a
employed
rub.
by
I
the
have a
sheriff's
concern
office.
with the federalization of local law enforcement.
Sure.
So I'm just curious about that program overall, and then that is an interesting rub. If he's then deputized as a DEA agent, does he work for us or does he work for DEA?
He works for us, and again, DEA is attached to Magnet, so we work hand in hand with the DEA already.
Sure.
But it just gives us some extra funding for overtime.
Thank you. Sure.
Any further questions or a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Gould.
I move that item 29 be adopted.
Have a motion second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 34, Supervisor Bishop.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. I would like to continue this item until we can obtain the qualification logs and the scores for the past monthly shoots for the years where we've been, where we have approved the ammunition grants. I'm just would like to see, we're getting 12 cases of 9mm ammo. That's 200 rounds per constable for each year, and they shoot monthly, and I don't believe I've ever seen the scores on this shooting. And
How long do you have a timeline? 30 days, next meeting?
30 days.
All right, we have a motion to continue for 30 days. We have a second. Motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 36 is a public hearing, which I will open. Anyone wishing to address the board on item number 36? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Lingenfelder.
motion to approve the adoption of BOS Resolution number 2021-196.
Second.
Motion second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Miss everybody else? All opposed? All right, motion carries. Item number, what do we have? We on 37 now?
37.
37.
37, all right. Number 37 is another public hearing. Resolution 2021-170. I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the board? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve the adoption of BOS Resolution number 2021-170.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion here. None. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 38 is a public hearing, 2021-171. Anyone wishing to address the board? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Gould.
I move that item 38 be adopted.
Second.
A motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 39, I'll open the public hearing. Board of Supervisors Resolution 2021-172. Is anyone from the public wishing to address the board? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Gould.
I move that item 39 be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'll open the public hearing on item number 40, 2021-173. Anyone from the public wishing to address the board? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve.
A motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 41 is a public hearing, 2021-174. I have some signed up in favor. Do you wish to address the board or your name and address, please, sir?
My name is Mike Johnson, 1481 West Jordan Ranch Road. It's in regards to our items 41 and 42. You have to have one or the other. If I can show you a picture of what I'm trying to do here. You know, it's just a piece of property. I'm trying to split it and do what's already been done in the area. I'm not trying to do anything outrageous or anything that's not already been done. I get a hold of Development Services and let them know what I'm trying to do, and they're all 2,000% forward. There's no reason we shouldn't approve this. Give it our approval. You fill out all the paperwork, the 3-mile or the 300-foot radius, send out all the mailings, give them all their money. Everything is done. You get a phone call and says, oh, we're not going to give it our approval. Well, why not? They're trying to use, the area I'm talking about is right here in pink. The only thing I'm trying to do is cut it in half so that my son can build a house because it wouldn't be cost effective to build it on the property itself. They're trying to compare it to 2-acre or 1-acre minimums at Fountain Hills and over here off of Cactus Run, when right down the same side of the road, same road, half-mile away, there's 1-acre minimums. Right behind the property over here, Juniper State, 1-acre minimums again. I'm not asking for anything to be done that's not already done. As far as why that wasn't approved, it went from 2,000% forward. They did a 180-degree turnaround and wouldn't do it because of one individual that lives out in this area. And he just happens to sit on that Planning and Zoning Commission. It's wrong what he did. He went and knocked door to door and talked to these people and scared them into believing all kinds of stuff just because he's trying to play God and not let me split my property, something that's already been done in the area. I even wrote in the rebuttal letter to Development Services, you know, it's already been done. Everything east of Kingman Reef Lane right here and north of Jordan Ranch Road, it's already been done in that area. Why would you not approve it? Because somebody said something. You don't go 2,000% forward, do a complete 180, and not have a reason for it. Somebody said something somewheres, and I believe that that's who it was. But that's why I'm here today, to ask for you guys to approve this, because it's already been done. I'm not asking for anything to be done that's not already been done. I just don't understand what's going on.
Chairman Johnson? Well, there's been an accusation by the applicant about some wrongdoing from the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I think that we need to look into that before we even vote one way or another on this.
I couldn't understand you. I'm sorry.
I said you made an accusation about a member of the Planning and Zoning Board. You just did.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did make
so
an
I'm
accusation.
saying before I would feel comfortable voting, I would like this to be looked at.
She's talking to the board members, sir. Do you have anything else to bring up for her? Is that all you need, sir?
No, that's all I have to say. I just wanted to make sure you guys understood what was going on, because I don't think that it's right what is going on, you know, because there's, like I said, you go 2,000% forward. Otherwise, I'd have never stopped it. I wouldn't waste you guys' time on this. if I wasn't told I didn't have a chance at getting it done what I'm trying to do. And it just kind of pisses you off when you're, all right, we might be able to do this, and all of a sudden you get a call, well, we're not going to recommend it. Well, what happened, you know?
Mr. Chairman, I'm confused. The 2,000%, I don't understand what that means.
Well,
I know what 100%
property
is,
naturally divided by a wash.
but no, your
Yeah,
terminology,
well, I talked to Hunter Kelly
2,000%.
there, and he said, yeah, you know, he's going, all you need to do is this, this, and this, and, you know, I don't see them not approving it. You know, not giving it their agreement. Next
So
thing you
wouldn't
know,
that be 100%?
well, yeah, same thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I'm just confused.
I am exaggerating, you know, but like I said, it's upsetting to get told that everything would be, you know, they don't see why it wouldn't happen, and then all of a sudden get told, no, it's not gonna, especially when you know it's because of an individual, you know. That's all it is, and that's the only reason why I'm here, is to make sure you guys understand what I'm trying to do before you say, go with their recommendation and deny it. You know, it doesn't make sense, and it's not right, you know.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Chairman Johnson?
Supervisor Lingenfelter.
I support looking at that, but I'd also like to ask if Development Services could come down and explain the unanimous denial, if we could.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board on this item? All right, I'll close the public hearing. Mr. Walsh, maybe you can go over, because I saw your reasons said that it'd be considered a spot land use designation under the Long Mountain Area Plan, and that Sign area does not contain other land use designations similar to the above proposed action.
Chairman Johnson, members of the board, thank you. I guess I'll go first with this here. To answer your question, Chairman Johnson, this here is a copy of the area plan for Long Mountain. The green over here, it's a little bit hard to see, but this green area here is 10-acre minimums as specified by the Long Mountain Area Plan. The red is 5-acre minimums as specified by the Long Mountain Area Plan. The applicant's parcel is this right here, and he's looking to split it down, or to get a even lower land use designation. So you would have he's looking for a 2.5-acre minimum. You would have a 2.5-acre or a 2-acre minimum land use right here with 10-acre minimums to the west and 5-acre minimums to the east. So you really would, as we mentioned in our backup, you would have spot zoning in this situation. To address the accusation, Mr. Bill Abbott is on the Planning and Zoning Commission. He lives in this area. Mr. Abbott recused himself from this item during the Planning and Zoning Commission. So just so that's out there as well. Whether he spoke with his neighbors or his neighbors spoke with him, I couldn't tell you. I wasn't party to that. But I do know he lives in the area, and he did recuse himself from this issue when it was presented before the Planning and Zoning Commission. So no, at least as far as the county's concerned, there was no wrongdoing there when this item was being heard. When it was initially presented, applied for to the Planning and Zoning Department at Development Services, I'm not sure what was told to the applicant at the time, but generally, as those items come in, we'll work with the applicant, but we aren't able to do a full review at the counter with them. We'll look at it and generally say, okay, based on whatever, we think we would probably recommend approval. However, as we dig into it deeper and look at all the details, then we're able to say, okay, yes, we can, or no, we can't recommend approval. At that time, before we post and before it's presented to Planning and Zoning or before we advertise, we will, if we're planning on recommending denial, we will call the applicant and tell them that we're planning on recommending denial and that they have the opportunity at that point to withdraw the item. If they withdraw it, we issue a full refund. So we send a letter and we call the applicant. So they are told that if we are recommending denial, and if they would like a full refund, we would do it. At that time, if they wish to proceed, we'll continue with the process. We'll advertise and we'll post the item.
Supervisor Angus?
Yeah, the applicant said that this isn't uncommon, that this has been done split lots around him. Is that true?
On the next item, you'll be able to see the zoning better. In the area surrounding this property, there are 5-acre parcels. There is a little bit further away, you have the Lake Juniper subdivision. That subdivision, which has water lines, streets, all of those subdivision improvements, that one does allow, I think it's a 0.7 acre minimum within that subdivision. But everything else in the Long Mountain area plan in this area is a 5-acre minimum. There are to the east, I'll give you this plan here. This might help a little bit further. In this area, you have all 5-acre minimums. As you get closer to Stockton Hill, you do have 1 acres over on this area.
Okay, so the applicant wants to split his lot so his son can build a house, one house. It's not commercial, you just want to have a house, right? And so, for those reasons, for what you just said, planning and zoning recommended denial. You guys recommended denial.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And to his point, without a rezone and without being split, he can build a second house there. This zoning that it currently has does allow for a secondary residence.
Okay, so then what's the problem? What else do you want to do with it? All right, never mind.
I'd have another
Any other questions, Supervisor
for
Lingfelder?
the applicant, if I could ask the applicant to please come back up. Sir? I just have a question for you, sir.
I'm sorry.
So we just heard the Development Services Director testify to the board that you can build the house. It's allowable. So why mess with the lot split?
The reason why I don't go ahead and do that and drill another well, because I've been given the approval to do so, is that would put the value of the piece of property so far above anything that is in the market. And, I want to leave my kids something at some point in my life, as most people do. It would put the value of the property, if I build another house on it, it would put it up way above anything in Kingman sells for. And that's why I also want to split it, is so that I don't do that, because there is nobody going to buy something that's for sale for $1 million that's got a $300,000 house on it. You understand what I'm saying? It would put the value way above anything that would be affordable, and I don't want to leave my kids in a situation like that, You're
saying it would price your son out of the market? It would price your son out of the market, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's like she said, what goes up must come down. If it were to come down, then it might be a feasible thing, but the way that the things are going now, it would not be. Not to mention, if I give him the property, he would end up financing it, and I don't want to lean on anything that I own.
Well, thank you. Tim, if the gentleman were to, I'm just asking to ask, if he's to build this secondary residence on the property and then down the road come back and split, is that permitted or is that not permitted?
He would have, if he were to build it right now and then split it later, it would be a non-conforming lot.
Right.
Basically, he'd be prevented from any additional building permits.
That's so. Thanks.
And just for, maybe Mr. Walsh knows, but in the past, the Longview area plan has been debated quite a bit, and those people are pretty staunch on their wanting to see that plan stay in place. So if we do this, it's going to be dipped into what the majority of the people want.
If I may, Chairman Johnson, to your point, this item was recommended for denial by a unanimous vote by the Planning and Zoning Commission. We also received sufficient objections from the neighboring property owners to require a four-fifths vote by the Board of Supervisors in order to overturn, or basically in order to approve it.
Do you still want to continue, Supervisor Angus? Or? Okay.
Chairman Johnson.
Supervisor Bishop.
I think I've heard enough testimony, and this is in my district, so I'll go ahead and make the motion that we deny the amendment to the Long Mountain Area Plan.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Item number 42, I'll open the public hearing. Would you like to address the board on this one, Mr. Johnson? Okay. All right. This is 2021-175, denial of a rezone. I will close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Chairman Johnson, I'll make a motion that we deny the rezone on this parcel.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 43, I'll open the public hearing, 2021-176. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the board? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. What is the pleasure of the board?
Chairman Johnson, motion to approve.
Supervisor Bishop?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now go to item number 44, the regular agenda. Approve adoption Board of Supervisors Resolution 2021-178, accepting Shredder Way from Wildfire Mountain Road to end of pavement.
Chairman Johnson, I'll recuse myself on this.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Gould.
I move that item 44 be adopted.
A motion second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 45, adoption 2021-179. Any discussion or a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
Motion. All right, motion carries. Item number 46, approve the adoption of Board of Supervisors Resolution 2021-180. I have no one signed up. It's the pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Gould.
I move that item 46 be adopted.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same side. Motion carries. Item number 47, discussion and possible action regarding the Mojave County Library. Amazing, we have Scotty McClure who would like to address the board on that item.
Scotty from Bullhead, and I've complained about this before. So since I'm here, I have no idea about the operation status of the Bookmobile. Nothing. Because it probably goes up that way, and hopefully it's back on the road again. But I'm still not seeing all the computers used in there that people used to. I mean, that thing was sold out daily, all day long. I think people are still a little bit afraid to go in there and do the six. They've got about every, like you guys do. You got an empty chair. They're doing that down there too. So I don't know whether to require that you make all the machines over. I don't know what the demand is for it. You have to sign up for them. So that one, I'm not seeing those used. They have them covered. If she can explain it, whatever. We're missing the Canadians. They used to come in there and fill up that parking lot. So you're not going to have full use. People are still afraid to go in there. You can still wear a mask in there if you want to. I don't. That's my choice. The workstation room, the test room. has never been open yet. That's where they're storing all the extra chairs that they're not putting out. I don't know why that's not open. I don't know. We used to use it for some classes and stuff, but that has not been opened again. It's off to the side. As far as the kids go, I wear out by noon or 1 o'clock. I'm not in there when the high school is over. But that used to be pretty well used too. And I don't know if you call it a babysitter or they're in there doing their homework. They were very well, they weren't being rowdy or anything. Now, there is a guy in there or a girl at the time. So if they get out of line, they're kind of like leaving anyway. But so I can't answer that one either. But those kids that don't have computers probably need that access to a computer to do their homework. So, but anyway, and then the newspapers being delivered by courier. I do not remember that happening 2 years ago, pre-COVID. Why we're not getting these mailed direct to us, I don't know what the cost is. I can look in the thing in the paper and it says $39 per month. Okay, whatever. But if it's getting mailed up there, is it really cheaper? We're getting the Lake Havasu sent all the way to Kingman and then taken over there, and then we don't get Wednesday's paper or Friday paper until Tuesday or Wednesday. That's my main thing, is it did not used to be that way.
Supervisor Lingenfelter.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. I put this on simply to get an update since the time that we opened the libraries up fully in March. So if there's anybody from the library that would like to come up and provide the presentation, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Good morning, Supervisors. Thank you for the opportunity to update you regarding our operations. Regarding youth programs, we are offering a variety of programs at our libraries for the youth. For instance, in Kingman, we have a family story time on Wednesday mornings. If attendance remains as high as it is right now, we'll be adding an additional session. We have a weekly after-school program, and then we're always looking to keep abreast of any special circumstances. For instance, this week and last week, the students in Kingman have been on fall break. So we have added some special programs knowing that they would probably be available and attend some of these. We've done an art program and an extra Legos program. In Lake Havasu City, we have been offering family story time on Wednesday afternoons. In Bullhead City, they're offering a story time on Wednesday mornings. As far as any after-school programs at that location, they've typically not had good attendance at after-school things during the week. They've always had better luck with programs for this age group on Saturdays, and they do intend to start those very shortly. I will note that we are without a youth librarian in the Bullhead Library. He left in August, so other staff is trying to do their best to, cover that. We have found over the years that what works at one location may not work at another. We're constantly evaluating, and of course, as things change, we are trying to offer whatever best meets the needs of our community. The next question was, are there areas in our library that are closed to the public? If I will address what Mr. McCleary said about the room in Bullhead City. We at one time had a separate room where there were computers. As time has gone on, and people have gotten more computers at home, we didn't need the number that we had at that time. So prior to the pandemic, most of the computers were moved out of that area. And he's right, we're using that area now to store some of the seating, the soft cover seating that it is a little bit more difficult to clean. As far as I understand, there was also some concern about our story time rooms that they were locked. And we do have story time rooms that are smaller in our 3 branch libraries. Those rooms have typically been used by library staff to conduct smaller programs. They've never been open to the public to just walk in and use them. During this time, though, we're not using them because they're a little bit too small to accommodate the number of attendees at our program with any kind of distancing. So we're holding all of our programs in larger community rooms or out in open areas where there can be some distancing. And then I also know that there was a concern that we didn't have one bank of restrooms open in the Kingman Library. And that was not so much because of COVID. It's related in the way that we're not even getting half of the traffic that we've gotten in the past. And we felt that we had sufficient restrooms available for the public, for the number of people that were coming in. We have since opened them since it seemed to be a concern. So, our part-time janitor is now cleaning those as well, even though we still are not getting the number of people to justify that. And then as far as our bookmobiles runs to Wickiup, Yucca, White Hills, Scenic, Beaver Dam, Littlefield resumed in May. The schools that were on our routes, we contacted them at the time that we were told to open back up, and every single one of them said that the earliest that they would want us back is when the school year started. And so at their request, in August, we resumed the stops at the Owen School in Wickiup, and then again at the request of 2 other schools, the one in Peach Spring, Valentine School, and Beaver Dam Middle School, we went in September. We had committed to go to the Cedar Hills School, which is outside of Kingman, on September 21st, but due to a last-minute call out by our staff, we didn't have anybody that could do that run that day, so we now are rescheduled with them, and our first visit will be in October. As far as our senior bookmobiles, the ones that goes to the senior living locations, we went through a similar process. We reached out to each of these locations in March. We're told they weren't ready to invite us back into their facilities quite yet. Subsequently, we kept contacting them as they had requested, and I'm sorry, I'm a little bit of dry mouth here. In August, we resumed service to Surbat Guest, Harrison Haven, and Amy Neal, all in Kingman. In September, Kingman Heights, Silver Creek and Legacy are both in Bullhead City. Havasu Hills is scheduled, they've scheduled with us to have us come back on October 11th, and both Gardens and Somerset, which are both in Kingman, have scheduled for us to come on November 1st. As far as the computer usage, we have probably half or a little bit over half of our computers actually operational at this point. We do have a system that tracks our people waiting, and so far we're trying to keep an eye on that, and if it is that people are waiting, then we're slowly adding back the number that we think that we need to have. In August of 2018, we had 9,643 uses of the computer. In August last month, we had 3,800. So we are nowhere near the point we feel that we should have all of the computers up and working. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. I had a few questions. So first of all, thank you for your update today. I went and walked through the Kingman branch fairly recently. When I was there, there was a large room in the center of the facility called, I think it was called the Teams Room. The staff called the Teams Room. That was still closed. There was a really nice children's space, a room that I didn't know if you allow children and their folks to go into that room to read, but that was still closed. I was told that the children's programs, I had my staff look into it, at Havasu had just opened up, but the children's programs at the time in Kingman and in Bullhead were still not operational. So I was glad to hear that you're saying that those are now back up and running. Is that correct?
I believe that Bullhead had started, but no, Kingman was all that they were doing at the time that you're mentioning is she had started a story time for special needs adults and teens, and that's where she started, and that was all that was running at the time that you're mentioning.
Yeah.
But since then, yes,
Yeah.
they have moved on.
Yeah, and per the vote of the Board of Supervisors in March, I would really like to see all of the spaces in the library opened. I think that everybody in the county, we pay library, taxes to use those facilities, and especially with the rural folks in my district. I'm glad to hear you're saying that the Bookmobile is now back up and operational to our schools, to our communities to the north in Mojave County.
Yes. Again, the schools, we were ready to do them back when in March, but they weren't ready for us.
Yeah.
That was their call. That was not our call.
Yeah. I've seen one of the Bookmobiles, I'm not sure if it's the one that goes up north, parked over at Public Works for a bit of time. Who trains the folks that drive those? Is it, I did a little research, it's risk management that trains those people?
Yes.
Steve?
Let me just clarify. Our large bookmobile that is the size of a bus, we have not used that one yet. We are using a Sprinter or a van to go out, and when we go to the locations, when we go to the senior homes, we take the carts inside that way. They don't come out and walk on the bookmobile.
Got it.
And right now, for the number of people that we're getting, and we actually, at this moment, we have no staff in our bookmobile area. We have one staff member, but he is out for an extended medical issue. So we really don't have anybody who's certified to be driving that bus right now. But yes, it is risk management who typically will train them.
Is there any plans to train any of your current staff, or for risk management to train any of your current staff to operate those bookmobiles?
First, we have to hire somebody. First, we have to hire people. We currently have 13 vacancies, 13 full-time vacancies and 4 temp vacancies, plus the one person who is out on medical leave.
Got it.
So we're struggling with that. I don't know what the plan will be for the big bus. Like I said, we don't have anybody to drive it. Our biggest location when we go is the Valentine School.
Right.
We'll typically get about 90 kids on at that point. Right now, the school is happy with, they've given us their cafeteria to set up in there, and that seems to work.
Yeah.
And then that way we're not having to, just let 2 or 3 kids on the bus at a time.
Yeah. And those position advertisements, those are published right now? Looking for bookmobile folks?
I think we've got about 5 published right now.
And one of them is for the bookmobile operators?
One is the bookmobile.
Okay. Right. Yeah, my concern is really just, I think that a lot of our communities up north and our schools up north, it's kind of easy to not think about them sometimes when they're on the other side of the, Grand Canyon, and it's hard to get to. It takes 4 or 5 hours to get up to them. So I appreciate, everybody pays our library taxes, and we need to give everybody that same level of service. So.
And I know that the board is aware that in Colorado City, we actually, our people there are allowed to use the library that they built in Hilldale.
Right. That's great. Thank you. All the questions I have.
Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kathy, do you run youth programs at the library in Fort Mojave or Golden Shores?
In the past, we've done a few, but they're not a regular basis. We only have one person at each of our community libraries. So at some points in time, we've had somebody from Kingman do specific ones. We've not had those requests right now, but if the requests come, our person that is in Golden Shores used to be the librarian at the school there.
Okay. When the bookmobile goes to Yucca, where does it go?
Where the fire department used to be,
Okay.
that parking lot.
Okay. The fire department's still there, but
Oh,
they
I'm
run
sorry.
reduced hours because they,
Oh, is that what it was?
yeah,
Okay.
they have some financial issues. And there was a mention of, well, first off, the Canadians are having a hard time getting out of Canada. They can fly out of Canada, but they cannot drive out of Canada. So that will probably cause an effect. And I imagine you take a look at the load usage and adjust that accordingly.
Oh, absolutely.
And a computer use by students, since many of the students received a computer for when they were doing off-site learning, I'm wondering if that will reduce student computer usage in the future.
It could. It's hard to say, but we are seeing, not even just now, but over time, as more people get computers, phones, that kind of thing, that a little bit less usage.
Sure, that makes sense.
As far as I'm sorry, I did not respond to Supervisor Lingenfelter's question about the teen rooms. You're right, the teen room at the time that you came in was not open. The teen rooms are all open now, but we try to man them when school is out. So it's different in each location. We are just now getting thank you. You can tell, thank you, I appreciate that. So this is the first time that we've had a teen room in Kingman, so we're not sure exactly how that's going to work, but it is open now. In fact, these last 2 weeks, it's been open a little bit longer, from I think 1 to 5 in the afternoon for the teens to come in, and we've seen some pretty good usage. They're all built differently, so both in Lake Havasu and in Bullhead City, inside the teen room, there are materials, some of the graphic novels and things that the kids like to read. And so those doors are left open all of the time so that anybody, teens or other people who like to read those, can go in and get their materials. They can go in and use the computers. But the gaming, when you sit and play the games and visit and do that, those are just open after school when we have it manned. We don't really want to have to be figuring out if somebody should be in school and they're playing games instead. So that's how that is. But they are open, the hours after school. In Havasu, they are not open on Saturdays because historically, I don't know what it is about Havasu, but I think they just have so many things going on in the town on Saturday. Every weekend, it seems like there's something going on. And they almost never get anybody coming in on Saturday to the teen rooms, but they're open all the rest of the days.
Again, I just want to thank you for your updates today. I think that our libraries are really special places, and we need to be encouraging everybody, especially our youth, to be using them, because I think we're losing a lot, with kids not being around books. And it's something that we need to encourage. So thank you.
And if I may, I'm sure that you've all received your invitations, but I want to make sure that everybody else is aware, and who's ever watching, that on next Wednesday, the 13th of October, we are going to have a ribbon cutting at the Kingman Library, and would love to see everyone come out. Thank you.
I have a question while you're up there. You were stressing a lot about these after-school programs. Are you aware that Lake Havasu City was sued for having after-school programs that turned out to be babysitting places? We've got to make sure that we're not running a program that is taken away from private business. And it seems like I'm not saying we're there now, but we seem to be getting more and more into that as you're saying a place for these kids to go. And the other question I have is, you said you went to a school and 90 kids showed up. I thought schools had libraries.
Several of our schools don't.
So we're subsidizing not only the schools in my district, I have to pay for their libraries, but now I have to pay for the libraries in these other schools? That wasn't just a ridiculous question, but that's all. Thank you. All right, let's take a 5-minute break. to order. Item number 48, county staff provide update and discussion to the public and the Board of Supervisors regarding overview of design construction activities for an animal shelter. Someone from the county want to handle this?
Mr.
County
Chairman,
manager.
board members, I've asked the talented backups from both procurement and public works. That would be Michelle Fink from procurement and John Meading from public works to facilities to provide that update to you today. So with that, lady and gentlemen, all yours.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members, staff. Thank you for the greeting, Sam. We're here to address this issue that Supervisor Lingerfelter brought up. So a little bit of background information to bring you up to speed on this. A couple of years ago, the board adopted a $2 million budget for animal control facilities to be built. We went through a design-build process and found we had insufficient funds, but we did learn awful lot from that project. As you recall, Mike Hendricks at the time was the county manager. He requested an additional $500,000 to bring in utilities to the site, increasing our budget to $2.5 million. This fiscal year, recall that you added an additional $1 million to the project, and that's where we're at the moment. So we have this project with its complications and issues involved in it design-wise. The best project delivery method is a design-build project. However, one of the drawbacks is some of the unknown costs. So again, we have split the project into two phases. One, bring in the utilities to the sites, just stub them in, and then contract with a design-build firm to build the project out so that we had a little better idea of how much funds were available for all the vertical construction. And that's what we've planned, that's what we've been doing. So in order to bring the wet and electrical utilities into the site, we have to work with the City of Kingman. The City of Kingman's development standards require a site plan to go forward to be able to calculate how much sewage, how much water, fire issues, all that stuff, which we don't have until we have a design-build contract. So staff worked with the City of Kingman to work without a site plan, but in order to do so, we had to create some background information for them to be able to work with. That's been done. The city has received all of our information on that, and so we do have approval to go ahead with the utilities. However, during that process, that lot that this site is available or has been chosen is a single lot. It runs from the south property boundary of the Mojave ARC facility there on Burbank all the way down the street to the north property boundary of the Kingman Library. That's just north of a quarter mile of length, and the city requirements require curb, gutter, and sidewalk in that area, and that's pretty spendy. So we were instructed to split the lot into a 3-acre parcel and a 21-acre parcel, which we have, and you will see that parcel plat for approval at the October 18th board meeting. That's been received. So moving forward with that, the underground utilities contract was issued for bid. That was received last Wednesday. We've been evaluating bids. We will have that bid for contract in front of you also at the October 18th meeting. In addition, we've been working with Unisource Electric. We've worked with them for actually supplying power into the site and for an electrical service contract once the building is built, and those contracts will be in front of you at the next board meeting. So the next phase then, as we move forward, is the solicitation for the design-build contract. Now, having mentioned that we had done this before, a lot of basic background work was required to actually determine what the scope of work was going to be for the design builder. Staff had taken some field trips to a number of different animal control facilities that were run in a number of different ways. They've kind of melded those ideas in with our own operations and our own county needs. And we've worked together to try to facilitate a building that would, A, house all the required infrastructure to run the facility, and B, result in a additional capabilities, given that the animal count is up, as you know, over the course of time. The resultant space study is in front of you now. It has a number of features. First of all, it's about 9,000 square feet. That's what we think our available budget will support. Secondly, there are a number of differences in this facility that you will see from our current facility. Number one, this entrance area is surrounded by animal viewing rooms of animals that are up for adoption. The whole idea behind this operation, instead of euthanasia, is to adopt the animals back out, give them homes. Okay, so that's what the purpose of all this public area here is. There's a large front office that allows fast, quick in and outs, because there's adoption paperwork, there's inoculations, there's just a number of processes that need to go through. This area accounts for that. The facility itself has two separate areas. This lower area here that I'm circling with the pointer is the public area that can view, customers can come through here, look at animals available for adoption, mostly dogs. The cat viewing area is here, because the pens are obviously smaller, and there's multiple stack them up. There is a non-public area to the north here that is used for animals that are sick, need to be isolated, wounds healed, other processing issues that they are just not available for adoption at this point. So that's that there. This particular design is expandable. It currently shows 72 dog kennels, and it's expandable to the west quite a bit, so that if in future days we need even more space, we can expand without having to impact the office area to the east. And the last topic I'd like to bring up is health care to the animals. The medical processing workshop is located in the center of the building for two reasons. Animal control brings their animals in on the north side of the property here. There's a sally port, so if Fido gets away from the animal control officer, he can corral him. They're brought in. They're triaged here if there's any medical issues. If they have a disease or whatever, they're screened for that, and if they have needs, they'll be attended to there, and then off into the hold isolation. In the case where the public brings animals in, they come into this hold area here. They're met by a staff member. They're triaged, and if they need medical care, they go here and then into the hold areas. So we thought a lot about process. We've thought a lot about needs for the facility, both now and in the future. And that concludes my part. Michelle here will speak to the timing of the next steps.
I'm going to go back to reiterate and summarize what John has told you. We did solicit previously with $2 million, but in August, the board approved a $3.5 million project budget and directed staff to bifurcate the utilities and the site preparation. And so we have solicited a competitive invitation for bids, and we received 2 bids on September 29th. We will be submitting a recommendation for award at the next board meeting, which is scheduled on October 18th. And I'm going to go forward now to this timeline. This is our procurement timeline, and I want to mention that I'll be the responsible procurement officer for these solicitations. So we just spoke about October 18th. Procurement is scheduled to publish the request for qualifications design build on October 6th, this Wednesday. On November 10th, the submittals of qualifications are due. On December 16th, the request for qualifications review will be completed by the evaluation committee. On December 22nd, the RFQ award submittal will be submitted to the board, and we anticipate that we will recommend award of contract on January 6th. Also, this design build request for qualification is a very well thought document. Procurement has been working as a partner with Public Works and the animal shelter to develop a descriptive request for qualifications, which emphasizes the county's intentions and what we're looking for, and we will award a contract to the most qualified offerer who can provide the most cost-effective use of materials and the timely delivery. So are there any questions on the procurement process?
Supervisor Gould?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So since this is a design build and not low bid, will the board then be selecting the contractor?
The evaluation committee, a qualified member, 5-member committee, will evaluate the qualifications that are submitted based on the evaluation criteria established in the document. And the county will hold interviews with the top 3 to 5 scoring firms. After the top ranked firm is evaluated, we will then enter into negotiations for a guaranteed maximum price for the pre-construction services. And after, if we are not successful with negotiations with the top scoring firm, then we will enter into negotiations with the second top scoring firm. And once we can once the evaluation committee comes to a final decision and a good negotiation, we will then the procurement will recommend the award of the contract to the Board of Supervisors in January. As I mentioned, we will negotiate the pre-construction services for the design portion of the project. We will also then issue an amendment to the contract for the guaranteed maximum price for the design and construction.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Gould, if I may jump in. Yes, absolutely. Every contract awarded, and there may be more than one, just because it's the design build process and the timeline that we go through. Every one of those will come through the board before it's moved forward. So
it sounded like I got 2 contradicting answers there.
No, Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Gould, what Michelle described is the process itself, and it's critical. And as she noted, our goal in this case is to not specify material, because we are aware that, for example, metal buildings these days may be 50 weeks or 52 weeks delivery, so it may take a year. We want to evaluate based on type of materials and timeline of delivery. So if a contractor can come in and demonstrate a concrete building, those that are preformed and stood up on site, and can deliver it in 6 months for a value that is better off than a metal building that is waiting for a year, that evaluation will be taken into account, but it will be brought to the board for an award before we go forward.
After the committee of 5 has made a decision, though, is what it sounded like to me.
The committee of 5 will review the options, the costs, the timelines, will interview and negotiate with the builder, I'll call it, but they cannot award a contract. The contract will not be awarded without coming through the Board of Supervisors.
So will the board get to see all the proposals, or will we only get to see the one that's approved by the committee of 5?
We can certainly...
I don't like this process. I voted against this process in the legislature because it's problematic, I think. Rather than design, I prefer design build for government projects just because of the nature of government. So I understand the process also, but my main question is: are we going to get you won't really have you won't have 5 proposals because you're going to negotiate with the various contractors.
Well, we're going to establish evaluation criteria, and the proposers will submit their proposals to comply and conform with those. If they don't, and they're deemed non-compliant and will not be moved forward. We can, as we discuss with those builders, and then as we come in front of the board, we can bring all the information that is necessary. Ultimately, Supervisor, the proposal evaluation criteria will be the guiding mechanism to determine who is the best, who provides the best proposal with the best value. Again, those will come before the board. We will explain to you how many we had, why we selected the one that we selected, but it's not official, it's not formal until the board awards the contract. So it's really part of the process. And if I may, really quick, just the design build is one tool in the toolbox. It's for this type of projects where you have some uncertainties. That allows you to set the parameters so you can look at not necessarily the low bidder, but the best value for the investment when you're reviewing those proposals.
So we're going to see one proposal, or we're going to see 5 proposals, or?
Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Gould, it truly it depends on how many proposals we receive. So it's a 2-step process. It's a request for qualification, which we start with. You can get 5, you can get 10 proposers that will come in and say, we can do this project. We will review those and determine whether they're all, the more the merrier. Please don't take me wrong. We will qualify, we will pre-qualify as many as we can, and then we will provide the specifics about the project. We'll ask them to proceed, and then at the guaranteed maximum price that you heard Michelle refer to is based on, they will come in and they'll say, for a building, whether it's metal or whether it's concrete, we want it to make sure this drawing that you looked at is a guiding document. They understand what we need. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It is a nice 9,000 square feet. It's intended to match that layout. They will come in and provide us a guaranteed maximum price at some point in the process. We will bring that to the board before it's for an award of contract.
So if you get 5 respondents with 5 qualified visions of what they are going to build, will the board see all 5 of those, or will we see 1?
So the criteria, Supervisor, will be set in such a way there will be ranked, and if we have 2 ranked the same exact number, that's the purpose of the committee, is to meet with them, evaluate, and discuss, negotiate, and then if they go through the entire process and they're still tied, we will bring both of them. There has to be a point where we say, okay, one is better than, one provides more value than the other. At any point, Supervisor, we will bring the entire list of proposals and the recommended one to the board to make the decision with the backup information so you can see it all.
So we'll end up seeing all the qualified proposals then?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. That was the answer I was looking for. Thank you.
County Manager and Supervisor Gould, procurement is subject to the Arizona revised statutes. Title 34 speaks to soliciting for requests for qualifications and a design and construction. And we're following the Arizona revised statutes. it does describe the process that we have to follow, and we are only able to score based on qualifications and then negotiate with the top scoring firm. So you will see everyone who submitted qualifications, and you'll also see a score sheet on how the evaluation committee scored each proposer or offerer, but you will not see proposals from each of these offerers. We can only negotiate with the top scoring firm, and that is based on Arizona revised statutes and the Mojave County Procurement Code.
I mentioned that I did not like this process.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So we're going to see one.
You will see all of the offers. You'll see one. You will see what the evaluation committee recommends, what they recommend awarding, and it will be up to you, Board of Supervisors, whether or not to award the contract. Keeping in mind that we are looking for the best solution and the best value for the county, and there may be more than one solution.
You can only negotiate with the one,
That's
so we'll
correct.
only see one.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Meeting, can you go back to that drawing you had there?
Yes, sir.
When you're coming in the door there, from the front entry, you have what, 2 viewing rooms on one side and a viewing room on the other side?
Yes, sir. One of the requirements from the animal control, our customer basically, canine animals are typically larger, quite a bit larger than cats. And so the cat population fluctuates rather severely. Supervisor Bishop's area has a lot of feral cats that come in and they're processed through. They try to get them adopted out. So there's quite a few cats. She wanted an overflow area, and you'll see that room just above the entry there is an overflow area, and that was specified by the operator of the building. The one on the right, left-hand side, sir, is the dog room, and there's no furniture in that room at this point because it wasn't necessary to determine how many large dogs and how many small dogs. It was just a square footage amount, and so again, this is a spatial study. Things may not actually turn out the way they're shown here, but the square footage of the various rooms and features needed to fit within this envelope, and that was the purpose of this.
Okay, then you keep going up that real wide hallway you have there, and then on the right, is that what you were saying was the reception area?
Basically, if you see the word, if you go the front,
I can't see it, but
that's fuzzy.
All right, I'm sorry for
that's all right. I'm just
okay. If you look at the front office there, where the red computers are on the desks, immediately to the left is called a hallway, and there's a merchandising area there planned for the for that wall, and that's kind of where the meet and greet is because the staff will come out that door there, meet the people, and walk them down to the appropriate space that they're wanting to see.
so that those 2 things on the right there with the red things, that's staff there. That's
that's the business counter.
And then to the left of that, what is that, a kitchen or something?
No, that's a break room, employee break room. The employees there's about 15 volunteers there at any given day, and 5 staff, I think 4 or 5 staff. And so, they're all taking, they need to kind of break. The animals are rather loud. They get, need to
Okay, well, the only question I was getting at in this whole thing was, why do we have viewing rooms? Is that just the pretty ones that go in the viewing rooms? Because you said they can walk back in the kennels to look at them, so why do we have 2 separate places? That's what I thought.
Supervisor Johnson, I was just that we're here to supply the needs of the stakeholders here, and I didn't ask those questions. I'm sorry.
Mr.
Just
Chairman,
seemed like a waste of space to me. Yes.
And board members, just really quick. John and Michelle have worked very closely with Nicole and Yvonne for months, since about March, before finalizing this plan and landing on this configuration. It's really intended to incorporate their needs and their vision and expectation, and allows room for growth in the future.
I just guess on a design like that, and I possibly could be in the minority, but it seems like we should have brought something back. If we're going to have viewing rooms plus walking in rooms, and it is for animal control. We have to remember that. We're already at $3.5 million from $2 million. We're just getting way out of line. Anybody else have any?
Chairman Johnson.
Felder?
Thank you. John, the diagram you showed was just a spatial diagram to give the design build teams sort of an idea of the concept that you're going for. Is that correct? And since you're going to have a general contractor and an architect and all the other disciplines vertically aligned on a team, are they going to have any sort of creative liberty to suggest improvements to the spatial diagram that you've put up?
Absolutely, Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Lingenfelter. Because of all of the competing space and operational issues and stuff, we're not bright enough to do that. I'm just going to say that. So our purpose in creating this document is to make sure that the animal control staff's needs were met, and would it fit inside the what we thought was a reasonable footprint that could be constructed under the given budget. That was answered by this drawing. Now, having said that, the design build contract, the grading and the point structure and all that stuff is set up such that they are going to provide us proposals, okay, in whatever format, such that this works and our staff is able to operate that facility within the given budget. Now, there's another dimension to all this, is the cost of ownership. It's not only cost to build it, first cost, the cost to run it, okay? So part of this evaluation of these guys is that if they use a metal building, they're going to have to create stud walls inside that metal building to create office space. Well, as you can imagine, pest control, for example, is a large chunk of their budget. So is veterinary costs and other things like that. So when we evaluate these proposals, we're going to be looking at whether there's going to be places for roaches to hide, or whether the animals can transmit diseases very easily back and forth. All of these attribute to operational costs during the course of the building's life. So we're going to want to evaluate not only the first costs, but the operational costs as a result of their design proposals. Does that answer your question, sir?
That answers my question. I think one of the beauties of the design build process is it enables you to take advantage of the innovation of the private sector, and it's the differentiators between each one of the plans and the proposals that are going to get you scored on top or put you at the bottom, right? But at the same time, you have to give some sort of an objective standard to go off of, right?
Correct.
So that's what it's all about.
Correct.
No further questions? Supervisor Gould?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. John, can you put the floor plan back up? So those dog kennels on looks like would be my left side where all the dog kennels are. Those appear to have doors that open to the outside.
Yes, sir.
So is that air conditioned, swamp cooled, or natural ventilation?
Both. The interior spaces, where the interior aisleways are, Supervisor Gould, are all swamp cooled and space heated. Okay. The outside kennels, you can see there are two wall spaces, and if you look closely, it says outdoor towards the outside of the building. Those are spaces, animals need fresh air, and those kennels have guillotine doors that will allow the animals to move from the interior of the building to underneath the roof and under shade, yet outside fresh air is available to them there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's swamp cooled and heated on the interior, and then just natural ventilation on the exterior.
That's correct. We don't need to air condition the space, no.
Okay.
We will air condition the office space, yes, but not the animal space.
Thank you.
I guess that brought up a question I had. You're talking about with access to the outside with, you say shading and things like that would be out there? Would there
Yes,
be
sir.
shading outside?
Yes, sir. What's not shown on this diagram, Chairman Johnson, currently the animal control facility has a number of sheds and shade structures. They're open. fenced but open. And those structures will be part of this project. They need those for the animals to get out and get some exercise and get some air. You can't just leave them in these kennels 24/7. You have to move them. And that will be done through the doors that are shown on the hard end left of the building. They will be able to access these areas and have some time outside, get some exercise, and stay healthy.
So we've gone from animal control to animal hotel. Now we have exercise space, so I guess we have to have volunteers to take them out and exercise them. And I think we need to revisit what we're doing, but I don't have any other questions. All right, moving on. Item number 49. Clerk says she doesn't want to read my proclamation, but I have a proclamation. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve it?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second for the discussion here. Not all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 50 doesn't need any action. Item number 51 should be a short report from our health director.
Chairman Johnson, members of the board, I'll make it short and sweet. So I'll stick with trends because I think that's a little easier for us to all work through. COVID transmission in Mojave County remains high with a case rate of 271 per 100,000 and a percent positivity of 17.4%. We continue to have the second highest percent positivity across the state, based on the Arizona Department of Health Services school dashboard. However, with that said, our case counts by week of diagnosis have decreased each week since the recent peak in late August, so some very good news on our part. We have seen just one second. We've also seen a decrease in the number of cases among school-age children, so that's good. We have more kids in school, which is a good sign. The case counts are still high for that particular age group, with a large amount of those numbers coming from the 15 to 13-year-old age group. That's the largest proportion from that particular group. For the other trends, the number of deaths by week of diagnosis has remained high, with an average of over 10 per week since July. The number of deaths by week of diagnosis for September may change, as you know, because there's usually a lag in reporting time for those deaths. When looking at the date of death, September had 54 reported deaths compared to 46 for the month of August. That's a 17.4% increase. As you know, the average age has changed. When you look at the entire pandemic, we're really talking about 18 months. So as you know, the older population were impacted more so early on, and now what we're seeing is that the age is changing, and that has dropped. So Mojave County is seeing a large number of deaths in the younger age groups compared to the start of the pandemic. In September, nearly 40% of deaths were in the under 60-year-old category for us, with an average age for the entire month of 67.1. So changes there. Hospitalization trends, we had a 22.6% decrease from the previous month, and however, hospitalizations continue to remain high and elevated in the community. And I'm sure you're aware that one of the big struggles for hospitals is not the fact that they don't have enough beds, it's having enough staff to staff those beds. That's a bigger issue and a bigger concern. So I think it's something that they continue to try to rectify, but I think their struggles are real, and those are nationwide and statewide. Those are not just Mojave County issues. Vaccination, 37.7% of Mojave County residents are vaccinated. According to the dashboard, this is the fourth lowest in the state, with the statewide vaccination percentage sitting at about 57.4%. The majority of COVID cases continue to be among the unvaccinated population. In August and September, that was 91.6% and 91.1% respectively. And those are the some important numbers to recognize as we continue to move forward with seeing cases and deaths in our community. The Delta variant continues to be the primary variant of concern in our community. To put it clearly, 100% of the samples sequenced from Mojave County were Delta. So I think we knew that was coming, and we were well on our way to that. For vaccine eligibility, I want to make it clear that currently persons 12 years and older are eligible to receive the Pfizer vaccine, and persons 18 years and older can receive the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccines. As you know, the CDC has made some recommendations recently in the last month regarding additional doses and booster doses. So additional doses are for those individuals that are immunocompromised, and they can get that third dose 28 days after their second dose. So after they've completed the 2-dose series, they can get that additional dose. Whereas booster doses are recommended for certain groups, and those are 6 months after your second dose. So that's important to recognize as well. And if you'd like, I can go through the populations that are eligible for that dose, but I think we've tried to cover that also in our press releases to make sure that we're including that information there. And also we've tried to include that information on our webpage and try to keep that up to date. Going through here pretty quick. All right, so Supervisor Angus, you had said you were going to bring up a question, so I don't know if I don't have anything. I mean, I have a lot of other information I can share, but I want to keep it brief and then answer any kind of questions you may have about what I've presented so far.
All right, we'll go to questions then. Supervisor Angus.
Okay, I want to talk about the vaccines, and it's been stated earlier. I think there's some confusion out there about what has been approved by the FDA and what hasn't. So I has done a little investigating. It's very vague and I think complicated. So I really want to set the record straight. So Pfizer is the only vaccine that has been FDA approved, and not just Pfizer, but a vaccine that now is called
Comirnaty.
Yeah, say it again.
Comirnaty. So, but it is Pfizer, but it's a vaccine that's been branded over in Europe. They don't have it here. The formula for the vaccine, the Comirnaty, is the same that's been used in all of our Pfizer vaccines to date. So why don't they just say Pfizer? Why do they have to make it even more complicated than it is? I understand. And I'm sure that there are legal reasons and statutory reasons, federal guidelines that are directing their efforts, but they can call it the right? I know. The Comirnaty when it's been fully FDA approved, right? Which is only for those that are 16 and over, right? Right. So that's fully FDA approved. The 12 to 15-year-olds are still under an emergency use authorization. And so they use the Pfizer name for that vaccine, even though it's the same. They use the Pfizer name under the EUA, and they can use the official name after it's been fully approved by the FDA. Okay, but the Moderna and the Johnson & Johnson has not been FDA approved. They are still under the emergency use authorization. That's most of the vaccines that we got here in Mojave County early on were those. Moderna. So now I want to talk about boosters, because everything now in the news is boosters. So you should take the same brand for your booster as you took. That's correct. Okay. Is that what's available in Mojave County? What is available in Mojave County now? We actually have all 3 vaccines available in our county. So people should make sure they get the one that they originally got as their booster, even though it is not FDA approved. Well, I see where you're going. So Yes. I mean, I think you're saying that you should get so that the only vaccine that's been approved for the booster is Pfizer.
Right. And I think
That's
people
it.
are going to see that and they're going to want to get that. So I did a little, research, and this is from CNET, the thing, and it quotes everything. It's footnoted.
Sure.
So the idea is it's safe to mix and match, right?
No.
So it says the fact that the current guidance allows people currently eligible for an extra COVID-19 shot to get a dose of Pfizer if Moderna isn't available. So that's what it says on the CDC.
So
if they could.
So for the booster shot, it's recommended that people get what they received the first round. So Moderna has not, and Johnson & Johnson have not been approved for booster shots. It's Pfizer.
However, it says here, the current guidance allows people currently eligible for the extra COVID-19 shot to get a dose of Pfizer if Moderna isn't available and vice versa. It's likely because scientists determined that the benefits of a third dose of coronavirus vaccine, protection against severe disease, for some people outweigh the unknown risks that may come from receiving another kind of shot. The unknown risks that we know because we're reading about it. But before scientists and public health officials can go on the record recommending a mixed series, this is the mix and match, series vaccine for the general population, they need to determine that it's a safe practice, and that's the benefit of it outweighs potential risks. In the U.S., the National Institute of Health and National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases announced a study in June that's testing mixing different COVID-19 vaccines. People in the study who received either J&J, Moderna, or Pfizer will receive an extra dose of Moderna. Data from that mix and match trial with Moderna and the booster vaccine has been shared with the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices and the FDA, a spokesman with that said. However, the fact that the current guidance allows people currently eligible for an extra COVID-19 shot to get a dose of Pfizer if Moderna isn't available and vice versa is likely because scientists determined that the benefits of a third dose of corona vaccine, protection against severe disease, for some people outweigh the unknown risks. So basically they're saying, I mean, the studies haven't been done, and they're saying they believe that the outcomes outweigh, but it's not years of study. In fact, there was something that there are theoretical advantages receiving different vaccine types in that different parts of the immune system can be impacted for protection, says Margaret Day, physician and vaccine co-chair at the University of Missouri Healthcare. Here's the quote, but medical research is ongoing about antibody response and T-cell responses, as well as safety and efficacy in trials. So there's a lot of unknowns. So my point of taking up all this time, don't you think we should put that on our website as well? We have to let people know all these different things. And I do think that as people keep hearing, especially older, because I'm getting calls at my office now to help them get the booster, because we helped them get there early on. Sure. But I hope that people get all the information because, again, we're only 18 months into this. The studies takes years and years of studies. Just, please be very careful, when you, again, this is weighing your risks.
Correct.
And, if your risk for getting COVID, if you isn't, you're not in those groups and you don't want to have to worry what's going to happen down the road, it's your choice. Somebody early on, I think the Call Public said, was blaming this board for giving out false information and doing all that. But the point is, this board isn't telling anyone what to do. We're not making mandates. So I just hope that we give the best information and that people do their own research. Don't keep going to the government. They're going to, we don't have to say it. But please, before you get that third dose, make sure you at least can try to get the one that you got, because how I read this is the information and the studies just aren't there yet.
And Supervisor Angus, I haven't read what you're reading, and I would appreciate it if you could send it my way. I really would like to. I think any information that I can get, I think it always informs our department. But truly, you know, when people are looking at and trying to make those kind of personal decisions, it is about doing their homework, also working with their provider, their medical provider, to decide what is best for them, and then finally making that decision for themselves.
Exactly.
So, yes, absolutely.
Any other questions, Supervisor Lingenfelter?
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. You'd mentioned before that still, I think I heard you say 91% of the cases are unvaccinated. Where are you getting that data from?
We get that from ADHS data.
State?
From Arizona Department of Health Services.
So that's not localized to Mojave County?
They localize it to every county.
Okay. 'Cause I guess one of my questions was, if we're going to, first of all, how many more weeks are we going to continue doing these weekly emails and press releases about cases and deaths? I mean, I don't understand. When's the logical end of those? That's one question I have. But the second question is, if we're going to continue to do those, I'd love to see some sort of a voluntary disclosure on each one of those cases, if they're vaccinated or not.
I think what would make it very difficult to do, Supervisor Lingenfelter, is to do that every week. I mean, it's what it requires is that they cross-reference data between two databases. So it's not impossible any means for us to get, and I'll find out just how time-consuming it is to get. I'm not suggesting we can't give it. I just want to learn more about what it takes our EPI staff to actually go through that process to collect that and report it out.
Well, I'd like to say I couldn't agree more with what you just said. If we are in the midst of a staffing crisis, and I know that these reports that you guys are doing every single day and week are extremely labor intensive. I don't understand what the policy goals of those are. I mean, we get this information, but what is the board voting on to do with the information? I don't get it. It's just double reported information, because I know most of this information you can get from the state, right?
That's correct.
So I don't know why we're doing it.
A fair amount of it you could, absolutely. And we have been directed by the board to provide certain types of information throughout this whole pandemic.
Yeah.
Supervisor Lingenfelter.
And
so
I
we
get
follow
that.
those.
I get that. And I think at the start of the year it was different than it is in October. But I've been on this board for 10 months now, and we've got them almost every day, if not every day. And gosh, that's a lot of time and expense to do those. And there has to be a logical end, I think, as one board member, to get you guys back to doing what you should be doing and directing people to their primary care providers, which is what they should be doing. You know, I mean, and if they want to know about the data, they can go to the state website to get the data. But that's just my opinion.
Supervisor Gould?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Denise, so the 91% of the people contracting COVID in Mojave County is amongst the unvaccinated? That's what you said earlier.
Correct.
So do we know how many of that remainder 9% are breakthrough vaccination cases versus people with naturally acquired immunity?
So let me give you that. Vaccine breakthrough cases account for 4.1% of our total. Oh, that's for hospitalizations. I'm sorry. Account for 4.1% of total hospitalizations and 2.7% of our deaths. Let me try to find that information for you. So we have had 616 vaccine breakthrough cases in Mojave County to date.
Do you know how many cases that we've had with people getting COVID twice, which would be a breakthrough case against
So the
naturally acquired
reinfection?
immunity?
Yeah, so the number of individuals that are reinfected, meaning they've gone 3 months after recovering and they again are diagnosed positive for the virus, that has been at around 1%, just under. So if you combine fully
1% of the total number of cases? 1%.
1% of the total number of cases, correct.
What's the total number of cases?
We are sitting at 28,479 as of Monday.
Or that's the total reported cases, though. Which I think there's a
Total-
difference between total cases and total reported cases.
Total
Because I think a
confirmed
lot of people
cases.
don't report.
That is highly likely, if they do not get tested and just stay home and do their isolation at home, then yes, that would be the case.
So when we're talking about boosters, only Pfizer is the one that's approved for a booster.
Correct.
Is the booster just another dose of the vaccine, or is it a special dose of the vaccine?
It's another dose of the vaccine in the Pfizer category.
So the same amount?
Correct.
Okay. So it's just another shot then?
Correct.
Okay. And I think that is it. Thank you.
Certainly.
All right, if there's no further questions, thank you, Ms. Burley. And before I conclude the meeting, just like to say what a pleasure it was to have the Honorable John Meeting here to address us today from Bullhead City. We are adjourned.